Okay, everybody, we'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene. And, of course, my name is Mike Smith, and this is Bradley Hargis. And, of course, we're going to talk about all things sports, which is from the local scene to the college, to the professional and the international scene. As, of course, that's what we are here for, of course. And whatever your sport is, hopefully we might discuss a little bit about it. And, of course, first off, of course, is high school. Of course, spring sports winding down. The regular season for softball, baseball, flag football, and soccer is winding down. As of course, this week will be, of course, the girls will have senior night against Brainerd. That will be a doubleheader Thursday night, and hopefully we'll get to play that. The boys, of course, winding down, also getting ready for the district tournaments. As far as I can tell, the district tournament for the softball team will probably be at Dunlap because they're the higher seed in that, so they will have to probably be hosting that, which means there's not much of a strenuous drive for fans to go to the games there. The boys, still, I think that's still a little bit up in the air, but we'll wait to see how. You look at the baseball, you look at the softball. What do you think, Bradley?
Well, in regards to baseball, and they're doing very well this year. I mean, they've played a pretty good season, 16-8 on the year, 5-4 in the district. And actually, they are third in the district, having lost 2 games to Marion County, 1 game to Sequatchie, and then they lost 1 to CSAS rather early in the season. And I'm about to sneeze. Hold on a second.
So wait for the volcanic eruption to happen.
Excuse me. Get that devil out of there so I can talk.
Okay.
And baseball's doing very well. And I think that, as you mentioned, the district tournament will probably be hosted by Sequatchie, given that they are number 1 right now in the region. 7-0 in the district, actually, 12-9 on the year. So Bledsoe has won more and lost less than Sequatchie County, but nothing really counts outside of the district when it comes to the district tournament. And they are 5-4, Sequatchie 7-0, and Marion County is 7-3. So a really good year.
Actually,
for Warrior Bay.
Last year when they struggled to reach about 6 wins, and that tells you, I think, is that the coaching staff has built up a good program there, and I think they'll do very, very well. As for the girls softball tournament, they're one game behind Sequatchie County. They split with each other, so basically at this point, that means Sequatchie County has the head unless they lose 1 or 2 their remaining or district games. They have not finished out their district slate yet.
Baseball's got 1 more game left. I believe it's Friday, April 25th. Softball has 1 on Thursday. That's this Thursday.
And they have 1 on the 29th. They'll be here at home. That'll be Array County because they switched out because of the field conditions. That they were supposed to play at home earlier this season, but they switched out, went to the road, and they'll switch that out, and that'll be the finale on the home game. District Brainerd game Thursday night is a senior night, so the girls will be honored. And yes, they also have a Tyner game they still have to make up on the 25th, so they'll be at Tyner or wherever they'll be playing currently.
They were going to play Tyner last night on the 22nd. Saudi, they made some rearranging of the schedule to try to get that district game in. Rain didn't allow that to happen, so they had to move the Tyner game to a different date. But hopefully Thursday they'll get to play that game, and then the 29th they'll get to play that region game, and then squeeze that Tyner game in. I don't think it's going to really make any difference in regards to Tyner as far as what they're finishing. I mean, their district season, they're not.
Their season.
They're fourth. They're fourth basically.
Yeah.
Bledsoe Sequatchie is tied at 6-1 for first place, but Sequatchie has that one game advantage over them because they won the head-to-head. But again, softball's doing good this season too. I mean, they are, like I said, they're 9-5 on the year. Sequatchie County is 11-2, and the Warriors are just, I mean, they're tearing it up out there. You see the results on social media a lot, and they're always showing one holding up a home run ball and hitting bombs. They always get their picture made holding the ball after the game is over with, and you see a lot of that. So a lot of the girls are playing very well. Baseball's playing very well, and spring sports in regards to those 2 alone so far are doing exceptionally well.
Absolutely. Of course, we had the flag football. One of the players on the team has got over 1,000 yards rushing this season. It's in the very first season of flag football, And obviously there'll be a district tournament for that as well. So
it's quite a large district because, as you can imagine, flag football, not every school has it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at the district that we are in, we were Stone Memorial, Warren County, Van Buren, Gordonsville, White County, Cumberland, Smith, and Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Ray County and Smith County winless on the year, as are Cumberland County.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Memorial is the powerhouse. They're 8-1 in the district, 10-1 on the year. Bledsoe County coming in at 4-7 in the district and 5-7 on the year. They are second in the district, and they they have a 1,000-yard rusher, and it's between Bledsoe and Stone. They are a powerhouse.
Absolutely.
Silverdale, they have a good team. They're supposed to play Silverdale Tuesday. That game did not happen either.
Yeah.
Silverdale, I believe, is number 1 in the private school flag football, but Bledsoe's the men and their girls to get out there, and they've watched football long enough, and now they're getting the chance to play it with flags around their waist. And I mean, it's something else. They're throwing the ball all over the field and running plays, and they're doing very well.
They're running. They're doing better than some of the male counterparts. In fact, I talked to Coach Tabor, and I said, "You scouting these players to play football in the fall?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to have them there." So they're just proving that football is not just an all-man sport. Women can play just as well. Just the only difference is they don't have the helmets and the full pads, and they don't tackle each other. And so it's a very interesting game. So if you ever get the chance to see flag football in action, that's what's called clean football. That means you basically don't.
I did watch some of the videos of some of the games that parents and fans had shot, and I mean, you may think that flag football is a little less intense than regular football. By George, it is not. Flag football, those girls out there, they are, man, they're like, we want to win. They're playing hard. They want to get that victory, and it is intense. To be what our perception of flag football is not what they play. It's an amped up, amplified.
It's an amplified
effort out there for those girls.
When I was younger, I played a lot of touch football, which is similar. The only difference is that instead of taking the flag off, you touch them, and a few times I got touched more than once, and a little harder. And when you see 4 or 5 guys come at you with the intensity of that sort of thing, is that then you understand a little bit about football. And if you don't understand what's going on with flag football and touch football and that sort of thing, then you got a problem. That's all I can tell you. Soccer, of course, has done quite well this season.
Boys soccer 5-3-1 on the season, which is really good. Especially for Bledsoe County soccer. When we first had it a few years ago, we had boys and girls playing together, and we were able in the last few years to have a boys and a girls team, which was really good for us.
Yeah.
Separate those up and play in both leagues. The boys, of course, play in the spring. Girls play in the fall.
Yeah.
But boys soccer, I mean they won 6-1 at Chattanooga Charter at home. That was on Tuesday, April 22nd. They got to play that game, even in the rain. And they'll play Thursday night at Marion County. Marion County is not in our district, but we did beat them 3-1 back on May 4th, so 2024. So I hope that when we have the same result when we play them again, and hopefully Bledsoe County can finish out strong in their district in boys soccer too. Yeah,
it's like I said, 20 years ago, you never saw these things come. You never saw this. You never saw the improvement. You never saw soccer. You never saw flag football, and that tells you how you get these people in here who are going to go the extra mile to get these programs in and get them in and be successful at it, and the teachers and parents. Remember Coach Tabor when he first came in about 7 years ago. He told me, he said, for the first time in his life, is that parents would actually come up to him, ask him when they're going to have spring practice, so they would postpone their vacation plans. He had them on their side immediately, and it's paid dividends ever since. So, like I said, of course, next month, of course, will be spring practice for football to get that ready for the August opener at Sequatchie County, and obviously it's going to be again. The programs are on the rise here. Bledsoe County has really shown that they can do the improvements in the facilities, the the upgrading in players and personnel. You used to have players guys who were athletically who could play the game wouldn't go out because they saw no deal in it. Now they line up to play. They line up to play, and that tells you right now. I mean, somebody once referred to us as the South Pittsburgh of the North. Because and there's a lot of truth to that. Because
well, yes and no. I mean, number one, we are just because we're on opposite ends of the valley.
Yeah.
That is we're kind of the bookends for the Sequatchie Valley. I understand that, but we don't have another couple schools to pick from like they do at South Pittsburgh. They pull from Whitwell and Marion County and even from North Jackson. So and they're not supposed to do that, but. Come on, we're not blind, we're not dumb. We know what goes on, and it happens. But Bledsoe County, regular old country folk boys get out there and they just want to play football and knock somebody around while in the process of going through high school. Same thing with Sequatchie County. That's why I like these rural schools like this. When you're only got one school in the county, I think that's a good thing. And man, it's. I already can't wait for August. I mean, I'm already excited about the improvements of baseball, excited about the continued success of softball, and flag football. Is amped up this year, and every program so far this spring is like you mentioned.
Archery and fishing too. We don't want to fail to mention them because they've proved themselves. Their fishing. They've been a big regular at all these events and meets. Yeah, they used to call South Pittsburgh Marion County the premier rivalry in the Sequatchie Valley. Now since they ain't playing no more, guess where it's now gone to?
Bledsoe
Sequatchie, and people say that it's a lot of Marion County people saying this that they in South Pittsburgh people have said they've never seen a rivalry where they just don't hate each other. And that's just they play the game, cheer for the teams, then go home and get along together for 364 days a year until the rifles and shotguns come out, and the bullets fly, so to speak. No, actually, we don't do have bullets flying, but the footballs do fly. So that's how important it is for everybody to have these programs in rural areas.
I don't know what I'm more excited for in regards to football this fall. I mean, obviously, everybody's going to be at the Sequatchie County game 1. I mean, that's obvious. But it kind of seems like the most exciting games that we're going to play are on opposite ends of the season. Sequatchie County starts the season, and then we close out with Monterey. And I know that Monterey is not really that big of a rivalry to us, but many of us remember what happened at Monterey a few years ago, and those kids do, and a lot of the parents do, and the I hope. Now this is what I hope. I'm not hoping for trouble, but I hope the animosity has subsided enough that both teams can play a game, sportsmanlike. It's the way it should play, and the fans don't get involved. That's what I'm hoping for. But you and I both know that emotions tend to run high in games like that, especially if there's some bad blood preceding the game. Yeah. And I'm really hoping that, at least on our side, I can't speak for Monterey, but I'm really hoping that Bledsoe County has their head on straight when they play that game, because we will likely be ready for the playoffs next week, the week after that. Yeah. And I really don't want any of our guys have to sit out and miss that playoff game, or even potentially be suspended for the playoff series.
I'm sure that coaches will make this quite clear to them. You cannot afford to lose the playoff game. Keep you cool, keep your head, and that sort of thing. And of course, they're playing up here, I think what is Monterey. I think Monterey for years had a chip on their shoulder a little bit because they were considered a small Class A school, and then they had these 2A. Now they're in the same division. So I think the chip on the shoulders hopefully will be little smaller. So
we do have to go to Grundy County this year.
Yes, we do. I know you love that press box out there. We're sitting in the visitor stand this year.
We will be sitting in the visitor stands this year at Grundy County, October 17th, and I hope it is frigid cold. So you can complain about the weather outside.
No, ain't gonna get that cold. Ain't gonna get that cold. But let's put it where right now is that I hope that some of the Grundy County, and I say this rather jokingly, is that they better have some extra money for the referees this year. They go in there.
Well,
and sort of thing. But you never know. I think what it is basically Grundy County's an improved team. They went to the playoffs last year, and they are an improved team. So basically, so that should be an interesting battle. Marion County, of course, at Marion County, that's going to be another interesting battle. That's a district game, and of course you've got the Sequatchie County. You have Oneida. I know you love driving up to Oneida for a game, but that's fortunately that's going to be early in the season. Then you have York.
We got to drive to Oneida, and the following week we got to drive to Tellico, and then we play at home against York. And it really means it's different this year because the Marion County and the Grundy County game actually will mean a lot more because they're region games this year. Yeah. It's not going to be just us playing them to be playing them to fill in the schedule. It's going to count. So, who knows how this season's going to go? I mean, we have a lot of holes to fill in regards to skill positions.
Yeah, you got quarterback you have to replace.
But I have confidence in Tabor and his coaching staff that he will have the right person in the right position at the right time. And I think Bledsoe County will be just fine. And, we wonder because we lost a lot of players, on different positions and different areas, but so did other schools. Other schools lost that too.
Yeah.
So it's not like that it's not like they're coming back with the same players and we have to rebuild or reload or however you want to look at it. Those schools will be doing the same thing we are. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Will he run? I mean, the number 2 quarterback last year was Luke Morris. He's got a build of a quarterback and he has the mindset. Will he be able to survey the field and make the athletic plays that he needs to make to stay as QB1? Or will someone else step in and be QB1? Maybe he runs what Spur used to do, a 2-quarterback system. You never can tell because, either way we know that Bledsoe County's offense is going to put points on the board. That's just the way it is.
Steve Spur, he's like that old fun and gun offense, that sort of thing. It amused me about Steve Spur is how when he knows his team is in trouble, his voice pitches higher.
Sure.
And that's how. But I think what it is that of course we got another team coming in. Of course we have not played in 71 years, and that's Huntland. Comes up here, and that's Huntland Hornets. That's out near Franklin County. So that's so. And the last time that was played in the state championship game in 1954. So there's a big chance for us to get even for that loss. And of course, any players that are left over, no doubt will keep in mind that anyone who was left over. Okay, everybody, we're going to go to a break in the action, and then we're going to take a timeout, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about college sports, including, in a word, Nico. Nico, I'm leaving Tennessee.
The name that everybody in college football is tired of hearing about.
Yeah, but like I said, and who is going to be his replacement has been answered apparently, and you'll be very much surprised if you don't know by now as you're watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and listening to it on WAT AM 1110.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, so what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, all right, we are back, and we're going to talk about the college situation. I know Bradley wants to bring this in
Before we go
don't believe anything
into the
he
college
says.
situation,
Don't believe anything.
you all remember last season prior to football season.
Yeah, I won.
If you watched our episode, you know that Mike and I did the 2024 sports scene prediction. Now, he took a picture of it. I took a picture of it. I have the hard copy right over there by my terminal at the store. And I just want to go through the season and show you.
Here he goes.
I want to go through the season and just show you, since Mike is always accusing me of hiding the envelope and not bringing up.
You did.
Here's what happened. Last year, Mike and I both picked Bledsoe to beat Sequatchie. That was correct. We both picked Bledsoe to beat Cumberland. That was also correct. We both picked Bledsoe to beat Sale Creek. That was also correct. We both picked York. Okay, that was right. We both picked Wartburg. Both picked Tellico. Both picked Whitwell. Now, on October 11th, Bledsoe County played at Polk County. Mike Smith picked Polk County. I picked Bledsoe County. And Bledsoe County won. We both picked Bledsoe to beat Gordonville. But then we played at Oneida, and Mike Smith picked Oneida to beat Bledsoe County. I, of course, picked the Faithful Warriors, and they won. So Mike finished his prediction was that Bledsoe would finish 7-3. My prediction was that Bledsoe would finish 9-1 on the regular season, and I will give you the opportunity, Mike, to say what was Bledsoe's record for the regular season, if you don't mind telling the people out there who are listening, who'll be watching.
7-3.
I'll save you the trouble. Bledsoe County was 9-1 on the year, and since we are going into the college football realm, Mike and I both picked Tennessee to go 11-1. Last year. Obviously, they were 10-2. Mike had them losing at Oklahoma. I had them winning. I was correct. Mike had them winning at Georgia. I had them losing at Georgia. And I was correct. So, we both had them beating Arkansas. We both lost that one. And who else did we lose to?
Georgia,
yeah. So, anyway, just goes to show you that we kind of broke even on that one. Although we both lost Arkansas. Mike lost 3. I lost 1 on that pick. So, I'm just saying, you're always talking about how I never bring that back up. Well, now I have, and the listeners and the viewers now know why I didn't bring out the rest of those envelopes, because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. Because I didn't want you to be like, man, Bradley picks so much better than I do.
Yeah, please.
Man, Bradley knows so much more.
This is the man who has filled out envelopes in the past, and then he hides them and he never brings them out again because he knew I would do it.
It's for that reason.
I won, and he knows it. And
I'm saving you the trouble of
I have an older brother that's an Arkansas fan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have his older sister that's a Florida fan.
Yeah.
And you say I'm crazy.
That if that's all you're basing it on, then you're still crazy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's go back. Let's get on to the college football scene, and everybody knows about the name of Nico.
Oh.
I'm gonna leave it Tennessee. Apparently, his brother, who signed with Arkansas, is also leaving Arkansas. I don't know what's
interesting thing about that. Now, I know we're going to probably talk more about Nico because he was at Tennessee, and that's where we are. But the interesting thing about that, Sam Pittman and the Boosters at Arkansas are now lingering around the thought of filing a lawsuit against Madden.
Yeah, Madden.
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
Because he got up and left too when his brother went to UCLA. And if you're not familiar with the history of Madden, the brother of Nico, younger brother of Nico, he originally committed to UCLA.
Yeah.
And then pulled his commitment away and recommitted to Arkansas.
Wow.
Before he even got to start with Arkansas and start doing anything, now he has pulled his commitment from Arkansas and went back to UCLA. And they have already paid him a portion of an NIL deal, and now Pittman and company over in Arkansas are like, hey, we want that money back. And if they were to go, well, we got a little thunder outside.
Yeah, we do.
If they were to go that far,
The football gods are not smiling on
it
you,
is
brother.
very, very possible that other schools will jump on board because of players that have done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So not only did Tennessee set a precedent with the Nico situation, Arkansas could set a precedent as well with the Madden Imalieva situation. So college football is going to be very interesting as it goes forward.
Absolutely.
In this season, especially with those two principles, being there, because this is the first time in the NIL era, which it's not been around that long, but this is the first time in the NIL era that a player at the collegiate level has done a holdout. And that's basically what it was. I mean, regardless, I understand that, if you wave $2 million in front of a 19-year-old kid's face, they're going to jump at it.
Yeah,
and I get it. Believe me, I do. And I understand that some of the things that he was doing was largely because of his father and the people who were in his ear telling him what he should and shouldn't do. Bottom line is, Nico Imalieva is a 20-year-old young man, and he has the ability to make a decision of his own future without having to sit out, which shows with him sitting out of practice and not going to the spring game and cutting all ties with the University of Tennessee and the coaches and the players, lets me know that he knew exactly what was going on. And I'm not trying to paint him as a villain, because obviously
don't paint him as a bad guy.
He was just trying to get more money, and I get that. But the NIL was never designed for collegiate players to make a living on. The NIL was designed so that those players could be comfortable and get a cut of what the schools and the NCAA was making off of their NIL, name, image, and likeness. It was never to be a lifestyle. It was never to be pay to play. That's not what it was about. And it became that very, very quick. And Nico, because of what he did, and then Tennessee not even blinking and saying, no, we're not giving you $2 more million on the year. Your stats, quite frankly, his stats didn't merit the $2 million he was already getting.
Yeah.
So they was like, no, sorry, not going to happen. And other colleges, completely followed suit. You had potential suitors for Nico, who there was Miami that was talking about him for a minute, Notre Dame, Ohio State,
North
Carolina, and basically when all of these things came out, Miami was like, we don't want that. Ohio State, Notre Dame, North Carolina, we don't want that kind of thing at our school, and it really hurt him, and he had to settle for UCLA, which I think the original thought was he might get $1.75 million. From what I've understood and read, he got around $1.5 million, which with it's still a chunk of change, but with California taxes the way they are,
take it out of you.
He's going to be making about $888,000 a year, which again is a pretty good sized chunk of change. But he was making $2.4 million with incentives and everything at Tennessee, and his contract was $2.0 million, but he was making another $400,000 with incentives and things like that in regards to sponsors and things like that. So he went from $2.4 million to making $888,000 a year because of California taxes. And and I hate to say it, but if his motive was greed, which
backfired on him.
It majorly backfired on him.
The thing about it is that there was a story going out that he was actually shopping prior to the college football playoffs, and I don't know if it affected the way he played or anything like that, but apparently Coach Heupel talked to a couple other coaches, to Tony Vitello and Rick Barnes, and he told them to cut him loose. He's not worth the trouble. And then when he didn't show up, and he didn't go and tell the coach to his face. He sent what's called a ghost message saying, "Hey, look, I'm no longer with the program. Sayonara, goodbye." And the other thing about it is what infuriated me. He seemed to think he didn't bother even to thank the fans for a week, which is unusual.
Yeah.
And then he blamed everybody. Now, first off, his father should never have been an agent. His father was no agent.
Mm-hmm.
If he had been an agent, this is what the agent would have told him. If I was an agent, and I would have told him, say, "Hey, look, you're great players. You got good stats for your first year. Fine. Go into next year, get even better. Once you have that base, then you're in a little better position to bargain. But you can't go shooting for $4 or $5 million because basically UT will not pay you that. There's an impossibility in that.
There's really no ground to stand on. I mean, he had mediocre stats at best, and you go back and look at the season. Look at the season. His best game was against Chattanooga, throwing 312 yards.
Take those stats out.
And I mean, he didn't even throw but 150 yards passing. Of course, we beat Kent State 70-something to nothing, and he didn't even break 200 yards passing there. And you take away all the games outside of the SEC, take away the Vanderbilt game. You look at the games where he had legitimate, high-octane defense. You look at Georgia, Alabama, and we'll even say Florida, and he was less than mediocre.
And Oklahoma was not very good here.
He was less than mediocre.
Now the funny thing is that he's going to UCLA, and at UCLA, Joey Aguilera is coming in.
Mm-hmm.
He played at East Tennessee State for a year for transferring to UCLA. Appy State for 1 year before he transferred to UCLA, and now he's transferring to Tennessee. Now people are saying right now is Aguilera has better Heisman stats than Nico.
The odds, as far as what goes off first of the year, they always put out odds for players, and because of his experience, he does have higher odds than Nico. He did play fairly well for UCLA last year in the games that he played in the short games that he played and the games that he was involved in. He had better stats in those games with UCLA than Nico did as being our primary starter with the Vols last year. So, I mean, and what we've got 2 4-star recruits that's waiting to play. We've got McIntyre and Merklinger. I just call him Mac and Merk.
His name was Jake Merklinger, and this is a funny thing is that they were a TV program they were talking about, and the guy at the mic was calling him Jerk Merklinger. He kept doing it. He said, and then he apologized. Said I didn't mean to say it that way. It just came out that way.
It's very possible that Aguilar's coming over to Tennessee. But he's going to have to earn that starting job.
Yeah, of course.
And it's very, very possible that Mac or Merk might be your starting quarterback, and he may be your second string or third, because the talent level between those three, the only advantage that he has over the two that are already there is experience.
But the thing about it is, I saw McIntyre and Merklinger play in the orange and white game, which was a glorified scrimmage because they had a lot of injuries, and though they were good, I think they didn't have quite the follow through that Tennessee wanted out of the quarterback. They didn't have a Hendon Hooker or Joe Milton. You look at this. Joe Milton got injured. In comes Hendon Hooker, and Hooker suddenly knew how to handle that ball. He threw those 2 clutch passes in the Alabama game that set up the win for the Vols. And if it weren't for injury, he would have won the Heisman. I would have been convinced of it. But and Milton was fairly good quarterback, decent quarterback. I think he wasn't as fast on the uptake as Hendon Hooker was, but he was more than sufficient. Then of course you had Nico, who at times I felt that he could have done a whole lot better. He didn't push himself enough.
All of the controversy surrounding this Nico thing. And the things that they're saying about his reasoning is why he's leaving the school. The one thing that obviously jumps out at you was the money. That was one thing
Yeah.
that first broke. And then I believe in order to save face, his camp said, no, it wasn't about the money. It was about the Tennessee's offensive production, that they were too slow. And well, okay, first of all, in that regard, they had to draw back.
Yeah, they didn't have a hooker.
They had to draw back the offense because Nico couldn't process the field and survey and make the decisions that need to be made so quickly. So they had to scale it back.
Yeah.
And it's odd to me that the next thing they said was it was because of their offensive line. Tennessee had the third best offense in the SEC.
Right.
He went to UCLA that had the 118th best offense in the nation.
Is he going to do any better?
So, and how can the offense be so bad that Dylan Sampson, at one point last season, led the SEC in rushing
Right.
yards and was in the top 3 nationally in rushing yards?
He also
But
he
yet-
also
but-
had a scoring record.
Yes, but yet Tennessee's offense is so bad that Nico wants to go to a school that is worse and make less money. Again, it doesn't add up. I wish the guy well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I hope he has a good year. I hope he plays well at UCLA. But I'm sorry, but you have made an example out of yourself that now college athletes all around this country and schools around this country are going to take note. And this NIL thing, when it gets out of hand, the schools are going to be like, no, sorry, you're out. I'm done. I don't
Okay.
want you anymore.
You know, the thing about it is now, you talked about changing your offenses to fit the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when 1985, when Tennessee started with Tony Robinson, Robinson was a gambling type quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had an wide open offense, and he was very very good at that. Then he got injured in the Alabama game. He was out for the season. In comes Darrell Dickey. They had to go to. It took a game or two to adjust himself. But they had to go to a conservative type offense, something that old style Tennessee type offense, and Dickey prospered. That's why he won the MVP in the Sugar Bowl over a better quarterback, Testaverde. But like I said, you got to know this right now. Is that quarterbacks? You always going to have a controversy at quarterback when you lose a guy like Nico. Look at Tennessee in 1971. They lost. They lost their number one quarterback to graduation. They went through 5 quarterbacks before they settled on Jim Maxwell, and Bobby Scott was their quarterback, but they had Condridge Holloway, but freshmen at the time were not eligible to play varsity, or else he would have been put in, and so as a result, they put Jim Maxwell, the Blue Max, in the middle of the season after a couple of losses to Auburn and Alabama, and basically did well. So basically it's how you get in there, and then you put in the quarterback. If you have a Hendon Hooker, great. You have a hurry up offense. You saw that. If you have a quarterback that's going to be like, hey, look, I'm not going to scramble like that sort of thing, and Peyton Manning didn't scramble. He knew how to run, but he did scramble around a lot, and he stayed in there, and he had his target, and that's how he won. But you look at the situation here with Tennessee is that they only had 2 quarterbacks. They had to go out and get one. They made it quite clear they're going to have to go out and get one. I'm sure that McIntyre and Merklinger understood that, and they knew what the odds were. They could still be the starters.
There's no way. There is no way. I mean, even them. I don't think that they were offended at all. They went out and got another one and here's why. Because if you know football, you know there's no way that you can go into a season, not counting your off-season schedule, but you cannot go into an SEC schedule with 2 quarterbacks on your roster and not have a number 3 and even a number 4. You've got to have some help because you know those guys are going to get banged up.
Georgia is early this year. It's they're late. Florida is late in the season. They swapped those out. So you're going to get a big test against Georgia. You're going to get a big test against Oklahoma. You're going to get a big test against Florida. You're going to get a big test against Alabama. Those teams are going to come in. You're going to have a big test against Arkansas, who I felt that their crack showed when Nico played them, because Nico was not a very good, did not did not show good judgment on that field.
He didn't make very good decisions
He
at
did
all.
not make a decision at all. He could have thrown that ball in the last play of the game and tried for instead he goes to the outside, and that ends that. So at this point, Tennessee is going to sit there. They've already lost a couple of guys to transfer this year. The defensive backs, that sort of thing. So it's just going to see how it goes. And of course, college football, I think they're going to have to do something about the NIL. They're going to have to
they have to.
They got to. No choice.
There's no way. They're going to end up having to either, number one, sign a long-term contract like they do in the pros. Of all the people who is for this NIL reconstruction, Gino Auriemma, the head coach at UConn, Lady Huskies, he says let's treat it like it's supposed to be. Let's sign these kids to 2 to 3 year contracts, and during those 2 to 3 years, schools can't contact them. Interestingly enough, LSU put a no contact clause on the contract, the NIL contract they signed with Nico, for good reason. So that way they couldn't shop themselves out. They couldn't be contacted by other coaches to try to get them to come play for them, which I think should be the way it is anyway. And it's going to be interesting how the NCAA handles this moving forward, because schools are finally going to start buckling down because they saw Tennessee do it. And other athletes are going to look at this and be like, well, I don't want to lose what I have like Nico did.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay where I'm at and be fine. So that a lot of variables into this equation here. But Tennessee did finish 9th on the year. I mean, even with the mediocre play at quarterback and the good play from Sampson out of the backfield. But what's interesting is the way too early predictions for 2025. They have Texas at number 1.
Well,
they have Texas at number 1. This is the top 10. Texas is number 1. Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Clemson, Oregon, Georgia, LSU, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Tennessee is number 10 in the way early prediction. Now, the interesting thing about that is the college football playoff already has a way too early prediction out there, and the first teams that are out of that: South Carolina, Florida, SMU, Michigan. And interestingly enough, Tennessee will go into the playoff right now as predicted as a number 8 seed, playing number 9 Illinois to get a chance to play, you guessed it, the number 1 seed, because Ohio State's picked to beat Texas in the head-to-head this year. Ohio State, a rematch in round 2. Navy is predicted to round out the top 12 teams and make it, as is Kansas State and those that we mentioned. So, again, we're talking months before the first whistle blows. There's no way to say this is definitely going to be that way. But a 12-team playoff, you got Navy making it, you've got Kansas State making it, and you've got your regulars making it. Alabama is not even on the list for potential playoff contenders, which is crazy based upon the heritage that they have, and they're going to bounce back. Alabama, by the way, is number 12 in the 2025 prediction. They're going to want to bounce back from that year last year. So, college football, I don't believe in preseason polls. I don't believe in preseason predictions, but it is interesting to see what the people who claim to know more about college football than you and I, who get in there and work out these numbers, have came up with. And it blew my mind that South Carolina came out ranked number 9 and Tennessee was number 10. I find that hard. Completely blows my mind. But we'll see. We'll see how it works.
Absolutely. That sort of thing. You talk about the NIL. I know some athletes. One athlete took the bonus money and he helped buy books for children. So he's doing good things. And you look at like LSU gymnast Olivia Dunn. She's got 7 figures, but she keeps her head on straight, and she doesn't hold out for more money and all that, and she has a good deal with a sportswear company. So again, it just depends upon how Nico is an aberration in the system, and they're going to have to deal with that. Okay, everybody. Before I lose my voice completely, which might be a good thing, We're going to talk to baseball, including something that Bradley may not know.
Do I even want to talk
Bradley
baseball?
may not know. Baseball, I know because you like talking about, especially the team you like, the New York Yankees.
No, don't even go there, man. Don't even go there. That's fighting words.
Yankees. Anyway, as you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene, we have quite a bit of rain outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Crawford Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110, Pikeville, Tennessee.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. While you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Okay, we're back. We're going to talk a little about Major League Baseball. Of course, the season is underway. So they're going into, and some teams are coming out. San Diego Padres are hot. The Atlanta Braves are not.
I'm going to do my best not to cry in here.
No, your favorite team is
with
the
the
New York
Braves
Yankees.
struggling.
And the Los Angeles Dodgers, well, seem to be doing all right this year. You got the latest statistics, I think, on the baseball scene.
No, I mean,
National League and American League.
the AL East, no surprise. The Yankees 14-10. They're a half a game above Boston. That was to be expected. Cleveland Guardians, AL Central, they're 14-9 on the year, and they're a half a game above the Tigers. That was a surprise because they thought the Royals or the Twins would be in the second place spot. So the Tigers have stepped it up. And then, of course, you had the AL West, Texas Rangers, probably the biggest surprise. They're 14-9 on the year. The Astros in number 2 with 2 games back. And again, this is really, really early in the game. They have 162 games to play. So,
yeah, they got a lot of games.
I mean, in a season, so we've got a lot of baseball yet to feel. But the one I'm going to reserve mine, my worst one that I don't want to read off to last. We're going to go for the NL West. Padres tearing it up, 17-7. They're 1 game ahead of the Dodgers, which is a shock because the Dodgers were expected to just completely run the gauntlet, and still may. It's still early, like we said. The Chicago Cubs are ahead, 1.5 games of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals, the Reds, and the Brewers kind of trying to play catch-up. The Cubs, as they are first in the NL Central. And the NL East, my Braves.
Come on. Get it out. Come on. It's like a shot. The quicker you get it over, less painful a little bit.
Well, the stat that I have is they're 9-14. However, they did beat the Cardinals today, so the Braves are 10-14, and they are dead last in the NL East right now with my most despised team, the New York Mets, being the first place team, and they have a 4-game lead over the Phillies, 17-7 on the year. The Phillies are 13-11. Man, again, there's so much more baseball to play, but if the Braves can just go out of April above 500, I mean, I would be satisfied. Because no team that has ever not finished April above 500 has ever went to the World Series. Never happened. So I'm hoping the Braves can either be very close to 500 or be over 500 before we get into May, because it's just not looking good. Your regular suspects are at the top in the American League, but the Braves just can't get anything going. And we get Strider back, and then he has a hamstring issue from playing catch, and he's out for 15 days. And I'm thinking,
Remember, you had one player out for 80 games because he violated.
Well, and I think that might have something to do with it too. Profar, we got him from the Padres. He came over to play for the Braves, played a few games, and then next thing you know, we found him that he had violated the substance policy for PEDs, for performance-enhancing drugs, and now he's out for 80 games. And I think that made a lot of waves in the Braves clubhouse, to be honest with you, because it really deflated them a lot. Profar was actually producing, decently well, and was starting to heat up, and the next thing you know, it's just the bottom falls out of it. But then you have your normal, people that should be producing: Olson, Riley, Murphy, Albies, Harris. Those guys are kind of hit and miss, And when you've got Marcell Ozuna, who is the one who's your DH, he's carrying the team right now. I mean, he's playing lights out, and then your pitching. We lost Fried to the Yankees. We lost Mentor to the Mets out of the bullpen. A lot of big losses. Acuna's still not back from his ACL surgery that he had last year, and that could make a big difference when he gets back. Maybe that'll change, but Kalenic is playing pretty good in his place, and I just want to see the offense. Needs to step it up, and I wish to goodness that AA, the general manager of Atlanta, would just find a couple big name pitchers and spend the money on them. I mean, we're going to have something, because our bullpen has lost a few games for us. Starting pitching is hit and miss. Strider's out now again, but it's just one thing after another. And Braves fans are kind of sitting in the corner crying in their knees, and that's what I'm doing. If I could reach my knees, I would be crying.
Well, let's put it this way right now. If the Mets and the Yankees win the World Series, I am going to bring a Mets and Yankees cap, and you're going to wear it on this show.
That's the good thing. The Mets and Yankees can't win the World Series. They might both play for the World Series, but both of them can't win the World Series.
Either one of them, you're going to wear it on this show. Now, if the Braves come back and win the World Series, I'll wear a Braves cap.
I will go ahead and say this: you will never, NEVER, with an infinite amount of exclamation points after, bold, italicized, underlined, see a Yankees hat or a Mets hat on this head. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Will you go with a T-shirt?
No.
You mean
no?
Okay, well.
Not going to happen.
Then I guess I'll have to. If either one of them wins the World Series, I'm going to come in and I'm going to wear a Yankees or a Mets regalia.
You can wear it all you want.
I'm going to write the Mets and I'm going to write the Yankees. I got a guy here who hates you so much that he says he's going to wear those T-shirts.
Let me put it into perspective. Now, the people who know me know how big a deal this really is going to be. But I would rather. Now this is going to be like, I have to spit this out of my mouth because it's going to leave a bad taste. I would wear Florida Gator colors with a big gator on my chest before I would wear a New York Mets and a New York Yankees.
Wear a Van Buren County shirt?
I wouldn't care to do that.
Okay, well, anyway, to the lighter side of things, I'm going to throw something at you that you may not know.
Throw something at me.
All right. This actually happened. Okay, in baseball, you have extra innings if the score is tied at the end of regulation. Okay, and how many, 10, 11, maybe 13 innings, usually. What was the longest played game in Major League or minor league history? Either way, it's professional baseball.
30-something innings, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was before your time. Okay, but I was actually looking up some stuff the other day, and I came across this. Okay, so the longest professional game occurred, and let me put this up here so I can sure what I got here. In 1981, it lasted 33 innings, took 8 hours and 25 minutes of playing time, and the first 32 innings were played on April 18th, 1918, at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, between the Pawtucket Red Sox and the Rochester Red Wings. Cal Ripken was a player on one of those teams. Okay. And what happened?
You said 1918.
1981. 1981. That's what it says. It's 1981. Pawtucket Red Sox and the Rochester Red Wings.
That's minor league.
That's minor league. That, like I said,
Okay.
minor league or major league, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Okay, AAA International League. It lasted over 3 days. Okay, what happened is that they started at 8:30 in the evening on April 18th. Okay, at 8:30 they had a delay getting the lights to come on. Then they started going back and forth, and they didn't score until the 6th inning. And they had over 1,700 fans there. And then when they finally called it at 4:30 in the morning on Easter Sunday, there were only 20 people in the stands, and those 20 people got lifetime passes for staying it out. So this is what it was: is that the attendance was $1,740 a game for 40 fans in the beginning of the game, 20 at the end of the 32nd inning. Then when they wanted to resume it the next day, but they said no, the players are tired, they might get injured. Let's do it later. But But what happened was they couldn't replay it until June 23rd when both teams would meet. And 5,746 fans showed up, plus 120 members of the press, because Major League Baseball was on strike at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They actually offered to move the game to Boston Red Sox Stadium.
Fenway, yeah.
Yeah, Fenway, but they said no because we don't want to cross the lines. Strike, even though I think they would have understood. Now, time of the game was 8 hours and 25 minutes officially. Now, what happened is that it started at 8:25 p.m. after a delay of 30 minutes due to problems with the stadium lights. It continued through the night into Easter morning. Most leagues had a curfew rule that would have suspended the game at 12:50 a.m. But somehow the umpire plate book didn't mention it, so he didn't know there was a curfew rule, and it kept going back and forth, back and forth. They continued playing, and it got so cold they were actually burning the benches in the dugouts and broken baseball bats to keep warm.
Oh wow.
That tells you how it was. And they said they every time one team would get ahead, one would hit a home run to tie the score. Okay, and they said they would have been. They said this is what happened. Let's see. We'll have to go with this. And one player guy thought his wife thought he was cheating on her. So no, we played the game. We played the game when he got back at 4:30. He said you have to check the news, and which sort of backed him up, and that sort of thing. And by 4 a.m., the players were delirious from exhaustion. And Jim Ernberger, who was the pitcher, 10 scoreless innings from the 23rd inning, striking out 9, giving up 4 hits. Okay, this is crazy.
Which one won the game?
Okay, what it was, finally the president of the league got on the phone and said, stop it in the 32nd inning and resume it later. It was so cold. It was that cold. They ran out of food in the concession stands, And then they said, okay, and the play had stopped at 4:07 a.m. at the 32nd inning. Okay, there were 19 fans and a kid who fell asleep in the middle of the thing, and they received season or lifetime passes. They went home to rest. They were supposed to play at 11 a.m. to try to finish this thing up, but they said no. You're too tired. You'll make mistakes. You'll get injured. So what it is, okay. So they could not resume until June 23rd. They had a sellout crowd of $5,746 fans and 140 reporters because Major League Baseball was on strike. Okay. It took 1 inning and 18 minutes to finish the game. And let's see here. Let's see who finally won. Let's see, you asked that question. Okay. The Rochester Red Wings won it. They won it. 3-2. 3-2. 33 innings. And it was absolutely because somebody had forgotten to put, hey, suspend the game. There's a curfew.
Yeah.
Suspend the game. So it went on far longer than it should have. And so it was just one of those things. So they said this is the records that were set in the game. Most innings, 33. Time total for one game, 8 hours, 25 minutes. Most putouts by one team in one game, 99, Pawtucket. Most total putouts in one game, 195 by both teams. Most at-bats for one team in one game, 114, Pawtucket. Most total at-bats in one game for both teams, 219. Most strikeouts by one team in 34 games, Rochester, 34. Most strikeouts in one game, 60. Most total assists in one game, 88. Most at-bats by player in one game, 14. Dave Costa, Lee Graham, and Chico Water, all from Pawtucket. Most plate appearances by one player in one game, Tom Eaton, Cal Ripken, Dallas Williams. Most strikeouts by one player in a game, 7. Ross Larrabee from Pawtucket. Longest plate appearance by a single umpire, Dennis Craig, 882 pitches over 8 hours and 25 minutes. And the line score went like this. No score till the 7th. Pawtucket tied up in the 9th. And he went back and forth. He scored a run in the 21st inning. And finally, in the 33rd inning, Pawtucket won. 3-2. So that's it. So now, 25 years after that event, the players from both teams met on that field for a reunion. Now the scoreboard that they had with that game, they have it still there. However, it's off to the side, so so they won't. They put a new scoreboard in. So that tells you 33 innings. Can you imagine somebody going 33 innings in that? Cal Ripken Jr. was a player on that game. He was a player on that minor league team. He went 2 for 13 on the night playing third base for Rochester. And then 2 years later, he got called up to the American League, and that was history. Wade Boggs played third base for Pawtucket and was inducted in 2005 in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Third base went 4 for 12 with a double and RBI. He'd make it to the majors next year. Mm-hmm. And the Baseball Hall of Fame has many of the averages, including the official scorecard and a ball that was signed by all the players on both teams. So 7 future and former Lake Region players played in that game. It tells you what it is. Chico Walker played for the Boston Red Sox, Chicago Cubs, California Angels, New York Mets. Bob Ojeda, who was the winner of the game after pitching 30 scores for 33 innings, would pitch for 15 major league seasons for the Mets, Red Sox, and Dodgers. That's interesting. This is really interesting. And Bruce Hurst, you no doubt heard of Bruce Hurst, mm-hmm. haven't you? He played for the Cincinnati, Seattle, and Pittsburgh Pirates. Rich Gedman caught for the Red Sox as a catcher. Louis Aponte, mm-hmm. 110 pitching appearances as a reliever for the Red Sox and Indians. And Julio Valdez played 65 games for the Red Sox. That tells you. Shortstop and service baseman. Wade Boggs, who later gone, had not played. Marty Barrett played another one. Mike Smithson. Roger LaFrancois, or whatever they say. And, it's Wim Rimmersall. You never heard of him. He's pitched for the Red Sox and and he got pulled down to the minors, and that's how he ended up in that game. And Floyd Radford, probably somebody you never heard of. I never heard of him. Mark Corey, Bobby Bonner, Steve Luber, and they were all played in the majors before they got pulled down because of injury, that sort of thing. But that's interesting. 33 innings. I mean, would you sat there in that stadium in the cold in early April to watch a baseball game for 33 innings?
It depends on how good the food was.
They ran out of food.
In that case, no.
20th
You're out of food, and I'm out the door.
When you have to burn the benches and then the baseball bats to keep warm in the dugout, yeah, somebody should have been smart enough. Hey, why don't we just cool this down and come back when it's a little warmer? You know, that sort of thing. But, of course, what's the longest amateur baseball event? Longest played? 100 innings. Now, it was not meant to be a game that meant kind of. It's just for actually if you hear of this 100 innings, it's basically you get 100 players come in and play a game. So that's what it is. So it's not really. It would take about 36 hours to compete 100 innings, day and a half. Of course, probably some of them had places to sleep a little bit for a few hours.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. That'd be interesting. So the 100-inning game was actually conceived in 2004 as a way to raise money for charity. And 36 hours. I hope they didn't play that straight.
I'm betting they didn't.
You know, they didn't. And you know, that sort of thing. And let's look at some of the Major League Baseball. The longest baseball game in Major League history was a 1-1 tie between the Boston Braves and the Brooklyn Robins in 1920. I think they may have been the Brooklyn Dodgers later, sort of thing like that. They quit playing when it became too dark to see the balls. They had no lights in there, so you hit. And the sun was setting. The game was considered about a draw. 26 innings, 3 hours, 50 minutes. Yeah, they must have been pretty much dedicated.
I'm telling you,
to the game. Of course, the longest game, American League game, was 25 innings between the Chicago White Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers in 1984. It was 7-6 White Sox winning that one. So this sort of thing. They suspended after 17 innings, then later came back and finished it up because of the curfew rule they had out. So that sort of thing. So, of course, Cardinals won a marathon night game. They had started for 25 innings, 7 hours and 4 minutes. That's you'd be amazing. You'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's far too long. And
it's too long for me.
I bet you they wouldn't have played that game that long if there'd been a pitch clock like they have now.
Yeah.
They've really cut down on the time of these baseball games because of that pitch clock and all these. It's kind of like a shot clock in basketball. They're trying to speed up the game, and it's taking away a lot of the fundamentals of baseball away. But it's just the way the times are.
You know, college football nowadays that they don't stop after first down. You get just enough to mark the chain, and then they snap it, and that sort of took the fun out of that a little bit because I always felt if they weren't for that stoppage of the clock, I don't think Tennessee would have won the game against Alabama. But that sort of thing. Well, of course, this is just about do it for us here, and I know Ethan's falling asleep over there. He's falling asleep over there. Ethan, our engineer, is falling asleep.
Quick mention: NCAA softball's going good. Women's Lady Vols #1 right now.
Well, they lost to Clemson last night, so they may not.
They might have fell down one, but as of right now, the last release of the record, Tennessee Lady Vols are #1.
Tennessee's
the
number
men's
6.
Baseball was number 6 on the year, so keep an eye out for them going into the next few weeks.
Yeah, Tennessee plays at LSU, while I think Tennessee ladies softball will have to go east and play somebody else. But anyway,
Lady Vols finish up with Ole Miss, and then the next series they have is with Ole Miss, and then they finish at home against Texas A&M, who is ranked number 2 in the country. So those 3 games will probably decide who's number 1 going into the tournament. And Tennessee boys baseball, men's baseball, they have series that start with LSU, then Auburn, Vanderbilt, and they finish up with Arkansas. And Arkansas is the number 5th ranked team in the country. So both of them have a tough road to hoe the next few series they play. So keep your eyes on that if you want to see some good competition in softball and baseball.
Okay, well, anyway, we're of course Thursday night, Bledsoe County's Lady Warriors will have senior night. They'll have a doubleheader against Brainerd. That's due to the fact they had to make up the game that was lost earlier in the season because of weather. So that'll be senior night. We ask that you encourage you to show up for that. We'll have the broadcast of that game here on WAT Thursday night. First pitch at 5:30. And, of course, it should be very interesting going here. Bradley, you have some final words to say.
I always do, Mike.
You always do. You
always do before we leave. You know, get out there and support your high school football, softball and baseball teams. You got just a few games left when the tournaments come along. Get out there and show your support. And definitely get out there and watch some really good Major League Baseball in the season right now. Unless you're a Braves fan, you're probably crying about it. You know, a lot of things going on right now. The college level, man, Tennessee's tearing it up. You better get out there, Vol fans, and support those guys and girls in these sports. But, as always, I'll say, close, go Blue, go Braves, and go Big Orange.
And go Yankees. Go Mets. Go Dodgers. And so this will do it for us here. We'll see you next time for the next episode of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene, here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18 and WAT AM 1110 Pikeville, Tennessee. Good day, everybody. We'll see you next time.